Today, I'm going to teach you how to get a 100% untraceable phone. So untraceable, in fact, that the NSA and the CIA won't even be able to figure out whose phone is it anyway. We're going to go ahead and get into this today in Operation Untraceable Phone. Buckle up because we're going to break it down. Now, a lot of people think if you go out and buy a burner like this one, a flip phone, untraceable, like Jason Bourne, you call and hello, hey, secret message, you break it in half, you throw it in the dumpster, and you vanish like a ghost. Well, the reality is none of that's true. And unless you're going to buy it and use it right now and you're in a serious situation, for most of us, that's a waste of time. So a lot of people also think if I get something like the latest phone, like this iPhone 12 Pro, that I'm just tagged at all times and it's not untraceable at all, and the CIA and the NSA is listening as soon as I, activate it. Well, you've got this BlackBerry here, one of my favorite BlackBerries, a very secure phone, historically amazing. Are these untraceable? What a lot of people don't understand is it's not the phone, it's how you get the phone and what you do with the phone. So let's break down a couple scenarios. Let's say right now, I'm an international spy, James Bourne, let's call me. And basically, I'm buying an untraceable phone like one of these. Now, let's say I don't need the phone right now, but I will need it soon. So I go to the store, and I got my hat and my glasses, and I got it. I've got the hoodie on, and I've got this. Doesn't look suspicious. I'm in Vegas, so for a lot of people, you can get away with it. So I got the hood, the hat, and the hoodie on. I go in the store like this, and I walk around, and I find a phone, and I buy it. Now, you're probably going to get arrested if you do that. But let's say I buy the phone and I go out there and I bought it in cash. Well, here's the problem. Okay, even with the hat and the thing and you pull down and you got the thing and you look like a drug dealer, the problem with modern facial recognition is it's really, really good. A lot of people don't understand how good it is. I do, because I live here in the gaming capital of the world. I play professional poker, high stakes poker, and I gotta tell you, there's 75 billion cameras at all time, and they know exactly what you're doing at all times. So, you're not fooling anyone. Now, that being the case, if I go buy this phone, I need to age the phone. And I talked about this in my burner phone video. Check out that video. It breaks down exactly what you need to do and what you need to know for burner phones. But we don't have time to age it. We don't have a year or so to age my phone so there's no longer any footage and I bought it in cash and I've disappeared with an invisible SIM and an invisible burner. What if we don't have time to age the phone? What can we do? How can I get an anonymous phone right now so I could be an international super spy today? I don't want to wait a year. That's a long time to wait, right? And so if I want to pretend to be a guy in my mid-30s playing superhero on the internet, what can I do? What are my options? Well, we do have a couple options. A lot of people think, well, Cody, obviously, Bitcoin. You buy a Bitcoin and you're anonymous. Yeah, right. Bitcoin is not even remotely anonymous. The problem with Bitcoin is, well, there's too many to list here, but we're going to talk about a couple. The first thing is Bitcoin is not anonymous at all. The Bitcoin transactions, in fact, a lot of them are more public than your bank transactions. The thing is, it's not about the Bitcoin being anonymous. It's about, did you get the Bitcoin anonymously? Most people go to Coinbase and buy Bitcoin. Well, you couldn't be less anonymous if you went to Coinbase and bought Bitcoin. So what do? How do you get freshly mined, untraceable Bitcoin that are not tracked and linked to any other crimes, that haven't been peddled up and down Silk Road, left, right, and center? How do you get that? Well, if you're going to get freshly mined Bitcoin, first of all, a lot of people will use Bitcoin Lightning Network. A lot of people are going to use coin tumblers. And first, the first thing you need to do is get on Tor. And a lot of people are going to buy them on the dark web. There's a lot of sketchy stuff on the dark web, so you got to be careful there. Next thing people are going to do when it comes to Bitcoin and buying sketchy Bitcoin is, unless you buy them on a reputable, like if I can say, hey, I bought these on Coinbase and the FBI is knocking on your door because these Bitcoin have been traced to arms deals or drug deals. If you don't have that, it could be a problem. So if you are going to buy anonymous Bitcoin, I do recommend freshly mined, but it's going to be more expensive and it's going to be much more difficult to do. So what are your options if you want to buy a phone right now and you don't want to age it for 1 to 2 years? Because nowadays with facial recognition, if you buy anything, even in cash, they're basically making the anonymity of cash disappear with cameras galore. There are millions and millions of cameras worldwide that are basically tracking and cataloging everything you do, everything you say, everywhere you go. Big Brother has become a very real thing. So what do? Well, there is one coin you can buy with, and that's Monero. But Just because the coin is a privacy coin doesn't mean you're safe, because there's a couple things you got to take into consideration. First of all, let's say I set up a Monero and I decide to buy some Monero, which I do. I think it's one of the better cryptocurrencies in my opinion because it's a private coin. Bitcoin's good, but it's not great, and you have to go through a lot of work to get anywhere near Monero's out of the box, if you will, privacy standards. Built-in privacy in Monero dwarfs every other coin. In fact, IRS and the federal government offered tons of money to crack Monero, and they came up short every single time thus far. They claim that they've had some software that could kind of, sort of try to identify. Basically, they scrape social media, and if people talk about Monero, they're like, yeah, this person has Monero. But they still, I'm probably on that list. Like, well, this guy talked about Monero, so probably he has some. Oh, okay, Agent Obvious. Of course I do, but can you find the actual? No, you can't. Of course you can't. Now, that being the case, Monero is a great option, but here's the weakness when it comes to a phone or when it comes to buying anything. Let's say I have anonymous Monero, and then I decide to buy one of these phones. Let's say I decide to buy a burner phone. Great, I'm on the right track now. But where am I going to ship that burner phone to? Am I going to ship it to my house? Well, I don't ship anything to my house. So I could ship it to my ghost address, my mail drop. Well, the problem with mail drops is, while most people couldn't even come close to pretexting a mail drop because the laws are extensive when it comes to mail. The good thing about mail is it's been on the books for so long, and mail fraud and mail tampering, I mean, you could get more prison time for that than some murders. It's incredible. But the government doesn't, let's be honest, I mean, I think we've all kind of realized the government doesn't play by those same rules as the people. The government kind of seems to do whatever the hell they want to do whenever they want to do it, in the name of national security and your safety. Keep that in mind. It's yours, so we're going to keep you safe and you secure, and also we are going to do whatever we want in the process. Seems to be the old American way. With that being the case, the issue we have here is, even if you buy an anonymous phone, you can't ship it to your house, and even if you ship it to a mail drop, at some level they're going to have some information on you. Even if it's your driver's license with another mail drop like mine has. Mine actually has a ghost address on my driver's license. But even if you have that scenario, they're going to be able to start unraveling your web, or where the average person couldn't even come close to finding out where I live or my personal residences, the different locations I have, because there's no paper trail you're going to be able to get to. But the government has their own databases, and it makes it a little bit easier for them. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not recommending you evade the government by any way. I'm a taxpayer, a business owner. The IRS gets a check from me every 3 months. Like, I go through this, but the thing is, you don't need to be tracked just because I don't break the law. In my mind, they're breaking the law by trying to track everything I do, and so all I'm doing is putting up safeguards. But if I send it to my house, that's not going to work. So what are some options? Well, there are some options. One option that I have seen people do, and this is an option that I've done, is I've actually used empty apartments. Now, the best thing you could do in business is network. Being a poker player, I do a lot of networking. I actually have a few buddies who own apartment complexes, and once in a while I will ship stuff, legal stuff. I don't partake in anything illegal, but legal stuff, like let's say a phone, even if it's an iPhone, really doesn't matter the type of phone, to a specific address that is an empty apartment. Now, they get mail there all the time. Doesn't make it that big of an issue. What happens is, if there's no one there, or they can say it's in transition, this is a common practice, and this is why you want to do it at apartments and not abandoned houses. A lot of people try doing this at abandoned houses. It does not work because the mail is wise to this, but if you do it in apartments, people are coming and going in apartment complexes all the time. So what they'll do is they'll leave the package with the front office, and I'll go pick it up there, right? Well, you know, you kind of do favors for each other. That's one of the best things about being in a community. So for me, poker community, maybe you're in a club or a different, where you network with people, you know people. I spend a lot of time at poker tables, you know, playing one of the best games in the world. And that being the case, you get to know people. So one good option is something like that, where you can send it to a vacant apartment, pick it up. Obviously, it's sent in an alias. Going to an apartment, they don't know, you know, the name James Smith or Jack Anderson, it's all the same to them. That must be the new tenant, so they'll drop it off at the front office. That's one option. Now, maybe you don't know anybody in an apartment complex. What can you do? Well, if it's low security, you can use a ghost address or a mail drop, which is something we talk about here on Privacy X. But more than that, another option that you do have is you can actually ship your package to a UPS store. So let's say, for example, you have let's say you have a box there, and then you can have it forwarded. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll have it shipped one place and then forwarded to my office. What that does is the people who are actually handling the mail handle the mail, so you don't have to worry about somebody picking it up. And what it'll do is you can have a mail forwarding service. Now this is typically only good for smaller packages and actual mail, which is what I use it for. But that way you don't put in your real address on the package. So the only person that has the real address is the mail forwarding location. Again, can be undone because whenever you have more moving parts, but it is an option for most of you. Now again, myself included, I'm not that important. It's not like I'm evading the CIA or the NSA or the FBI. If they wanted to find me, they could find you. They can find any of us. But I haven't broken any laws. My guess is you haven't. But I'm trying to evade, if you will, tracking. What you do is you become a number. Edward Snowden said it best. He's like, hey, they track everyone, which is why they can stop nothing, because they're looking at everything. And then everything's just right there in plain sight. That's why if something were to happen, they would have no clue which direction it was coming from, because they're trying to track everyone and they don't have the manpower. It's just a bunch of computer databases building endless information. So that's how you can go about getting an anonymous phone. But here's the problem. You can go through all that trouble getting an anonymous phone, but anybody who's tracing your phone, if you're calling your spouse 3 times a day or you're calling a family member, they're going to be able to eventually link those calls. Also, nowadays, there are voice footprints. So let's say somebody's trying to track you and they're able to tap into your spouse's phone or maybe a sibling's phone or a coworker's phone, you know, because wiretaps are basically like Tic Tacs in the federal government. Well, that being the case, they're going to be able to track that anyway, and as soon as they get you on that call, they've got what phone it is. As soon as they got what phone it is, they can track it. As soon as they can track the phone, they can GPS track your location, and Bob's your uncle. So the only real anonymous phone is no phone at all. But if you need a short-term anonymous phone, that is the best way to do it, buying an anonymous. I'm a big proponent of cash, especially being a poker player living in a very cash-heavy city like Las Vegas. I spend probably, between 5 to 8 months a year in Las Vegas, but I got to tell you that one of the best things you can do is think ahead and age these things so you don't have these issues. Anyway, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Put out new videos every single day on the Privacy X project, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.